Hey guys, welcome to part 3 of the Mustang project. Well, those who watch the last episode would know that our first job is going to be to set the driving position. To understand where the seat's going to end up, we need to also make sure that the tunnel, we need to know how much we're going to have to modify that. We know we're going to have to cut a lot more out around the front and the gearbox area, but what we need to work out is the tail shaft tunnel tall enough with our diff in situ there so we don't have a clearance problem between the tail shaft and the top of the tunnel. So today we're going to check that out. In the Falcon, we actually, when we did the transmission tunnel in that, we were still going to run a live axle rear diff. So we lifted that up about 50 mil at the back just to give clearance, and we also had a 3-link in it at the time that had a fair bit of bulk around the third member itself, so we created lots of room there. Obviously, when you're building any sort of car, you don't need to overcomplicate things. So in the chase of getting the seating position correct, and also the pedal box, what we need to know is that tunnel going to be high enough for where we want to put the diff in it. So what we'll do is we'll get it up in the air now, and we'll have a look at that. So first job is to actually pull the rear diff housing out. So we'll hit it. Fun little fact that I didn't know before, this particular diff, to the naked eye, it kind of looks like a 9-inch, but it's actually the Ford 8-inch. So this is the smaller of the two diffs, and it's actually identifiable by the dual dimples in the back housing. So that's something that was pointed out to me the other day, and I thought it was a very clever way of distinguishing between the two. And you also notice the actual tubes where the U-bolts go over are a heap smaller. The cool thing about this car is it probably would drift quite well with the mods that they've actually done with it. They've actually lengthened the lower control arms here. It's got all the new hardware up the front as well. And another cool Mustang thing is you can actually see where they've done the Shelby drop on the tower. So the idea of this is when the ride height's lower, the ball joint's in the ball joint actually sits more perpendicular to the arm. It doesn't get close to that binding point. So that was the idea behind the old Shelby drop. Yeah, now we've got a few diffs out. We've got a few things to take care of before we try and put the V3 subframe in. We'll knock these bump stop brackets out. We showed you this in episode 1, and got a couple of plates that welded in there to strengthen the leaf spring mounts, but we actually need that surface to be flat there for our crush tubes to go through it. So we'll knock them off. Got a couple of handbrake brackets there to take off, and also the bump stops. Rightio, so we've got the bump stops removed. There's holes up there. I'm going to fill a little bit later when we get the welder out. I've got these handbrake brackets off there. I'm not sure if they were original or something that the previous owner put on. And there's also some strengthening brackets here that we needed to remove. That spot there, that's where we're going to fit the crush tube. going on. So here we go, version 3 has gone up into position pretty well. We've got a couple of, the floor pan we started with was dropped on the, I'll show you, it was dropped on the left-hand sill panel. If you look up, in there, pretty bent compared to the other side there. So we do know that we've got to make a bit of a modification to the jig. But what we're really happy about though is just as far as prototyping it as proof of concept, it looks like everything's pretty well on track. We've got to make a couple of little changes. We're going to move the spindle back 35 millimeters. That was a little bit hard. We thought we worked the center point out correctly off the bump stop, but as it turns out, we're a bit shallow. So we're going to bring that back 35 mil. That's we'll probably modify it in the spindle itself, and we're also going to address the diff position. One of our limiters initially was just, we haven't given it much thought, and the brackets up there holding it in, they only are tacked in, so we knew we were going to move it. But what we think we'll do is we'll bring the diff back, so when you look at the front view, we get it centered into the column. And what we've actually done with this subframe is there's 2 points where we can mount it off. There's a higher point, which is probably where you put it in a road car, and that lower point is where we want it in a drift car. So all in all, that's a wrap. We're ready to go home. Ready to go home, Starkey? Thanks for watching. We'll try and keep you updated, but yeah, that's a great start for the first big day on the Mustang project. Cheers, guys.